Alright, so it's taking a little while, but Peacemaker Season 2 is finally ramping up, and this episode was genuinely the best yet. This will be my breakdown and review for Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 5, titled Back to the Suture. Make sure to subscribe and become a member of this channel in the Noble tier or above for early access to videos, and in the King tier for a special shout out. Thanks to these members for the extra support. Starting with what we learned about the DCU, like last episode, there isn't much. Most of it pertains to Peacemaker itself. The episode starts with its cold open flashback 3 years ago. The flashback takes place around a week, maybe a little bit less, after the events of the flashbacks of episode 3, and 1 day less than that since the events of the Suicide Squad. Harcourt and Flag Sr. met here. Harcourt was already aware of being sent on Project Butterfly, meaning Peacemaker must have taken place not too long after the Suicide Squad. In the DCEU, it was 5 months, which seems like a lot considering Amelia was already being sent on Project Butterfly, but I guess it is entirely possible. It was certainly also the following calendar year, the Suicide Squad in 2022, Peacemaker in early 2023. Flag mentions a giant starfish that his son fought, a reference to Starro. Up until now, they had only mentioned Project Starfish, from which we could have assumed Starro, but this is further confirmation, and I think it's enough. If we ever have a reference to Starro again, there's no point for me to bring it up. It's revealed later that Sasha Bordeaux is a cyborg and has a pretty brutal cyborg origin story. This is true in the comics as well, where alongside the cybernetic vision that she is shown to have, she also has enhanced strength, speed, agility, durability, and healing, all of these super-powered basics. We learned that the kaiju from Superman exists on Earth 2, while Eagly does not. Eagly not existing on Earth 2 was pretty clear, but now we know that for a fact. Speaking of Eagly, this episode has a huge twist, revealing that Eagly actually is the Prime Eagle and has some sort of magical powers. James Gunn has confirmed that Eagly is the most powerful member of the 11th Street Kids, which makes sense since he is the only one with powers, even though he is an eagle, not a human. I'm gonna assume that Eagly either has a connection to or is a manifestation of the Red, a force that Animal Man, Vixen, Beast Boy, Bwana Beast, and all the other animal-based heroes all tap into to access the animal powers of the universe, similar to Swamp Thing the Green. Eagly didn't glow red, he glowed purple while his eyes glowed pink. But not only are those both close enough to red, but also it doesn't really matter. Beast Boy is green, Vixen's totem often glows blue, so Eagly's purple or pink, definitely close enough. Maybe the fact that Red Saint Wild has red in the name is actually a reference to that because he also clearly tapped into the same energy force with the same symbol. Maybe that was also the red, and maybe an eagle is the manifestation of the red. But let's get into the review because I'm excited to talk about this episode. It was a great one. That said, unfortunately, the first thing I noticed is that this episode is just 36 minutes long, the shortest episode of not just the season, but of the series so far, after the previous 2 episodes were both a bit too short. In season 1, only 1 episode was under 40 minutes, and it was 39 minutes. These episodes feel a bit too short. Hopefully the last 3 episodes are all a lot longer. I'm hoping for 45 to 50 minutes each. The opening flashback was pretty good, but it's also probably the most fitting cold open for its episode thus far, as it showcases Harcourt and Flag meeting at Junior's funeral, which connects directly to the main episode of Flag finally getting face to face with Peacemaker, and Harcourt not exactly living up to what she said, which is that she's going to make the person who did this pay. Harcourt tells Flag that she'll make whoever did this pay, which gives more context to a scene from the previous episode in which Flag notices the 11th Street Kid's image. He now knows Peacemaker killed his son. Harcourt swore to make Peacemaker pay, but instead she became his friend. Messed up if you actually think about it. As it turns out, this is still truly the case. Harcourt gave Peacemaker a code, which I did not see coming, to not show up, which was a nice reveal, even if I genuinely did believe from last episode that she did betray him, because generally I think the season made it clear that it made sense that she would. Generally, this scene is pretty good. It looks great and very different from the majority of the season, as it's populated by people in a park, which feels very Earth 2. The scene is intense and interesting since it seemed like Chris got captured on purpose. I mean, he seemed really competent in how he used his environment to not get shot, but also he then got himself captured without a way out. Turns out that's actually exactly what happened. I was expecting some sort of reveal that he had a plan to get out or some sort of way out afterwards, but no, he just was let out because of other characters' actions. Either way, it's a great scene, and the reveal that Sasha is a cyborg was done really well. Just like very casually, she uses her powers for the first time. And I'm glad she has these powers. She has them in the comics, and it makes her certainly a more interesting character. As Chris is taken to Argus HQ, we see more of the allegiances of the 11th Street kids and why Flag is making a pretty big mistake by hiring them. Economos comes through yet again, something he's been doing for the whole season again and again. I really like this moment, specifically because of Fleury's reaction and telling Economos he did the right thing. Fleury is a joke of a character for the most part, but he has a serious moment here and there, and this one quickly shows his morality and his stance. Going into this season, one major thing I was really looking forward to was an eventual meeting between Flag and Peacemaker, and the reckoning that would come out of that. 3 out of 5 of the flashbacks dealt with one of the 2 Flags, so clearly this was going to be a big deal. The moment, I think, did not disappoint. It was brutal and intense and deeply personal and honestly a bit rewarding. I don't know if it's just me, but I found Chris to be a lot less likable this season so far, or maybe he's just less fun compared to the last season, and the season has also made a great point to why he might deserve this. Honestly, this felt justified. I was kind of rooting for Flag. Flag and Bordeaux have a few scenes that seem to point towards a romance between them. Man, Gunn really likes setting Flag up with like way younger women. She's 35 and he's 60. But also, I'll admit they do have good chemistry. Backing up a bit, Eagly gets his own personal side story, and it's absolutely one of the highlights of the season, taking a very unexpected turn that I am so glad they didn't tease, hint at, or show in any of the trailers. Eagly chasing after the fox looked incredible, like fantastic CGI and an incredible score. It felt like a bit of a different show from the rest of the show, kind of like a cartoon or a silent short film, and a really great one at that. Red Saint Wild then shoots an eagle down, which left me intrigued rather than sad or shocked because they showed the moment of Eagly going to Earth 2 in the trailer, so I knew he wasn't going to die. It is a bit unfortunate, but also it's not exactly a big deal. They kept the real reveal a secret. As Chris returns home and Judo Master follows, the score has a heroic, somber tone that makes the whole atmosphere of the show feel more grand as we see Eagly's corpse, and I begin to think, maybe he is dead. Maybe that part of the trailer was a fake out. I never expected what followed. Another eagle shows up and another, and we see Red Saint Wild was entirely correct about the accidental reveal that Johnny Economos gave about Eagly being the actual prime eagle, and he has magical powers. This moment was incredible, from the reveal itself to Wild's reaction, which could be taken as either fear or a genuine spiritual reawakening, and the killing is then incredibly brutal. The score is epic. The visuals are incredible. I love the look of the powers, and the reveal is fantastic. I just love the idea that Eagly is not a regular, well-trained eagle. He is the prime eagle and the most powerful member of the 11th Street Kids, potentially a manifestation of the Red, or has a connection to the Red, or whatever. This is so much more interesting. A fantastic retcon and a fantastic new reveal. It's kind of crazy when you think about Peacemaker and how he kind of lucked his way into all these sci-fi and magical elements. He has an eagle, but it turns out it's a magical eagle. His father kind of just stumbled upon alien tech. He has this interdimensional portal, but he's just a guy with no powers. He is skilled, but also the reason that he's an actual superhero level character is because he just lucked into all of it. The last 10 or so minutes of the episode followed up on this incredible scene really nicely, quickly going to the moment where Chris goes to Earth 2, this time with Eagly, and this time closing the rift behind him. And thanks to the editing and again the epic music, this felt like a really critical and impactful moment even before we knew he was closing the rift. It was just him going back to Earth 2, making that decision. We didn't yet know he was closing the rift, but it still felt very impactful, even if it took 5 episodes to get here. Judo Master going after him is also really interesting. If people were right about Earth 2, then a Vietnamese man probably wouldn't be welcomed. November Rain by Guns N' Roses plays over scenes of Chris being at Earth 2, his letter being read out, and the top trio going after a kaiju, in a scene that kind of feels like a series finale montage of the main character saying goodbye. I love this type of moment, and I think it was done really well. I think it was edited really well, but also what truly got me was Adrian crying. We've seen how much his friendship with Chris means to him, but we also know that he's kind of a sociopath who doesn't really have emotions. So seeing him cry was really impactful, but also believable. Probably the most important thing in his life just left, having not even mentioned him in his letter. Honestly, it got me to tear up a bit. I genuinely felt bad for Adrian and felt like maybe he isn't a sociopath, he just has really repressed emotions. All this leads right into the ending, set to Take Me for a Ride by Bad City, with the classic Peacemaker tropes of Adrian being goofy, Economos being a reluctant hero, and a slow walk. followed by the ending of the episode of Chris going to Amelia on Earth 2. I loved the editing of these moments, it worked so perfectly with the song, and it's a fantastic song choice at that. I don't know if it was because of James Gunn's writing and choices simply being better this episode, but everything seemed to fit better here than the previous 4 episodes. It might just be because of the director. This episode was directed by Alethea Jones, who hadn't directed any episode prior. I think episode 3 is probably almost as good, but I don't think everything clicked as well, and I think episode 3 had every right to be better. I think maybe Alethea fits James Gunn's writing and his style better than Greg Mottola and Peter Sollett, because this episode was fantastic. Everything seemed to click in the editing, the music, the direction, everything. There was also some great comedy throughout. Leota's call was a bit long, but Adrian's reaction was really funny, as he always is, and Flurry and Judo Master's exchange was hilarious. So yeah, this episode was fantastic. Very well written, great visuals, genuinely just like one of the best scores I've seen in an episode of television. Really emotional moments, great action scenes, insane reveals, and just a few things here and there that I didn't like as much. If the rest of the season keeps this up, or even improves on this, then we're in for an incredible back half to a season with a first half that is good but not quite great, which would make a season that is incredible. I think the back half of a season always matters more than the beginning. I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10, and look at the trailer for episode 6, Vigilante is finally suited up. That's one thing that I didn't like. It took 6 episodes for Adrian to suit up, when in season 1, he was literally almost always suited up as Vigilante. But that's it for now, thanks so much for watching.